Hey everyone, welcome to the Colon with the Boys podcast. My name is Asen, and this is Nathan.
What up?
This is episode 25, titled Lorecraft. World of Lorecraft.
World of
I'm just kidding.
Lorecraft.
Just Lorecraft. Our guest today is the explorer of story, the master of detail, the Lorerunner. I don't know why I made that so dramatic.
I liked it. It sounded
because,
good. Very,
I
can't think of the word, but it sounded good.
Well, I mean, if you're listening to this right now, you know exactly who we're talking to from the episode name. But
Yep.
Whatever. We talked to him about drinking and pretty much Warcraft the rest of the episode. So yeah, if you like Warcraft, this is the one right here.
Yeah, there's
Sorry,
a bunch of stuff we wanted to talk to him about. Like, I had a whole list of ideas. Me and Asim were actually talking before the episode, and you were like, "Man, I have a feeling this could turn into an hour-long episode about World of Warcraft," and that's exactly what happened. So,
yep. During the podcast, we attempted doing the Lorerunner drinking game, but I was personally too focused on the conversation to notice. Yep. I feel like if I was actually trying to play the drinking game, I would have missed something he said just because I'm trying to focus so hard on the words he's saying.
Yeah.
So, sue me.
Sue me.
Don't do that.
You ain't got much to take.
Yeah. You can take my shitty computer.
There you go.
There you go. That's like my livelihood. All right, guys. Anyway, so sit back, relax, and open a fresh, sizzly bottle of seltzer water.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just wanna crack that door with that boys, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No more baby mamas, no more kids to watch, cause I got babysitters. Now it's time for licking, come on, give it to me, cause it's my escape. Now it's time to annihilate, so my troubles all die away. I'm on a diet, eh? Please do not try this, cause you're not invited. I'm dripping in go call the Midas. This night I was excited, it got me reignited. I've been waiting so long I can't fight it, but now I'm Mike Tyson inside, I'm on fire. It ain't nothing like a true
Blizzard Entertainment.
Blizzard.
I've been told before that I'm too much of a plug for games without meaning to. Like, I don't deliberately shill. I'm just like, here's STO, right? And it's awesome. Here, let me play it for you a bit. People are like, dude, I want to play that. How much is it? Oh, it's free. What? You know.
What? Speaking of,
we'll contact everybody on the plugs you shill out here and be like, you guys should definitely hire this guy and let him play your stuff.
I work for cheap. All I want is free product. That's all I want.
There you go.
Give me some Canada Dry shipments every month. I will be happy.
Yeah, speaking of Canada Dry and drinking, we're doing a special thing for your episode. I'm sure you're aware. I'm sure you're aware of your drinking game.
No, I don't do that at all. What are you talking about?
So, I have poured myself a drink, and Nathan has poured himself a drink. And what we're going to do is we're going to play this drinking game while we do this podcast.
Okay.
And you're welcome to participate if you wish to do so, but we'll try to catch all these words.
Well, as I say, appropriately enough, I do actually have, I don't know if you can hear the cup here. I've got a freshly poured glass ready to go.
Well, there you go.
You'll probably have to help us keep up with it because there's quite a few rules and it's going to be hard to go back and forth between screens trying to.
Okay.
So if you probably know the game better than us. So if you catch yourself doing one of those, it'd be like, oh, by the way, take a drink.
I have to admit, if I'm being 100% honest, I usually don't notice because it's just my natural speaking habits, right?
Right.
So as you know, I don't really think about it. I just
That's awesome.
I will do my best.
Now I'm listening for it, like specifically. I'm just like looking at the words.
Now I'm watching my own words. Like, hang on.
You're gonna be aware of it, and you're gonna be like, I'm not gonna say any of this.
Yeah, nope. I feel like you'll hear me start talking and then just stop all of a sudden and pause for a second. Like,
wait, think of a different word here.
Yeah, let me do it a different way. Oh my goodness.
Awesome. So Canada Dry, you like to drink Canada Dry mist, right?
It's I don't actually remember the proper term for it. It's the seltzer water.
Okay.
It's just the plain old carbonated water. I know I'm really, really boring. That's all I drink is that and water. But that kind of came. Actually, I suppose I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't answer a question unprompted. I apologize. I was going to explain why.
You just spit it out, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, because I'm big on soda, right? I've been big on soda since I was a kid, but
Right.
it's usually the carbonation and the flavor that do it for me. But when my health started nosediving several years ago, one of the additional problems I was having was massive headaches, and I just couldn't figure out what was causing it. It was the caffeine. It was the caffeine in the Coke I was drinking. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll quit that. So I quit soda. That sucked, by the way.
I'm sure.
And then it's like, all right, I'm done with that. Oh my God. Oh, I can't drink water. For a while there, plain water would hurt my throat too much because of the lesions I was getting. And so the only thing I could drink was carbonated water. So it just kind of grew naturally out of this process of I need to drink something. Like I'm skipping a few steps there. Like I went to the store. It's like, okay, I need like flavored water. You get the healthy water or the mineral water or whatever, and you drink that, and that's just filled with all sorts of garbage. No offense intended to anyone who likes it, which was hurting my throat. I needed just water and carbonation, nothing else. And then I just sort of got used to it, and I've never stopped.
Yeah, it's a little bitter for me. Just like seltzer water. I don't know. I can't get into it. I do enjoy soda as well. But I think my main thing is I like the sweetness of it more so than the carbonation itself.
Wait, you like Pepsi, don't you?
Dude, how did you know? You guessed exactly right.
Because Pepsi is sweeter than Coke, and Dr. Pepper is more kind of a fruity, syrupy flavor, and Mountain Dew has nothing to do with either of those things.
I enjoy Coke as well, and if you ever go overseas, they don't have Pepsi really. Everything's Coke. But
he's like, I'm never going overseas.
I'm never leaving again. Wait. Do they have seltzer water overseas? Because that's all I really need.
Yeah, actually, it's very popular. At least the country where I'm from. I'm from Bulgaria, so it's very popular there to have, seltzer water or carbonated water. Mineral water is also pretty popular, even though I don't know if I enjoy that as much either.
I found that's too expensive usually, too. Mineral water specifically. Like you go to a restaurant, it's like, can I get mineral water? And they'll charge you for it like it's a drink, as opposed to like it's a soda, right?
Yeah.
The only time I drink seltzer water is tonic when I'm having gin and tonics. That's about it.
Yeah, a lot of my friends do that too. Every now and again, I go to the store and I'll go out with 3 or 4 cases of seltzer water, and then the checkout lady, if she doesn't know me, usually I know this is going to sound weird, but I'm a little bit of an extrovert. So most of them kind of get to know me after a while. Anyways, but if they don't know me, they look at me and be like, and they just give me this look, and they don't say anything. They're too polite for that. But I'm like, don't worry, it's not for alcohol. And I remember this one time, this is actually just about 6 or so months ago. I was going through a Publix, and the woman was like, again, did the look, and it's not for alcohol. And she's like, oh, and she just like her whole body was like, oh, thank God. I was like, what in the world are you drinking? No, I just like the flavor of it by itself. Really, by itself? And we kind of started chatting about that. Yeah, no, it's not for the alcohol. I swear.
That's funny. Actually, whenever I was trying to get away from pop products, like my big thing was never really pop. It's been energy drinks. Ever since Monster came out, I got addicted to energy drinks. And when I was trying to cut off of those, I would get seltzer water, and then I would get the little Mio squeezes, and you can like squeeze like strawberry Mio into seltzer water, and it tastes like a strawberry pop. Yeah, so I don't know if you've ever tried that, but
I have not. No, I may have to actually glance around, although it might still hurt my throat, but it might be worth trying now. My throat's a little better than it was 5 years ago. So
adds a little bit of flavor to it. Kind of makes you feel like you're getting a little strawberry soda, but something you could check out, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. It's definitely something to check out, but I mean, as far as the sugar content, it's about the same. It also depends on how much you squeeze into the water.
Dude, I just squeeze until I can't see seltzer water anymore. It's just like red Kool-Aid. Completely defeats the purpose. Oh, it's not a big deal, dude.
He's one of those, there's someone walking by the door dogs. I guarantee you that's what he's barking at right now. There's someone walking by right now. And wants them to know, absolutely know that he is here. It's very important to him.
Oh man, I hate that. My little one does that. Like she'll hop up on the couch, and I've got my front door has like a little glass, frosted glass insert in the middle, but there's like a little pieces where they can see out. And somebody will be walking on the opposite side of the street sidewalk, and she just starts barking at him. I'm like, shut up, leave him alone. Like I'm not even at the front door.
Yep. That's exactly right. The other one is the UPS truck. He like knows the sound of that truck. And anytime that truck is in the neighborhood, and you know he's doing it, at least I should say I presume. I don't know dogs that well because it's not my dog. But I presume that he's doing it because he's informing us that the UPS truck is here. Because then we go up and look, and he immediately stops barking and goes, and wags his tail like crazy. Like, I get pettings now, right? I did this right?
I did a good job.
Yes.
Pet me.
Scratch. Yes, you did a good job. Thank you for letting me know my packages here.
That's funny.
Awesome. So I'm just going to kind of segue into I think how both of us found you for what you
Mass
do.
Effect 3. Oh, okay,
No. We're okay. So we're both huge Warcraft fans, and so obviously, not only are we Warcraft fans, and Nathan doesn't participate as much, but I'm a part of an RP community for Warcraft. Cool. So I'm very interested in the lore, and so is Nathan. We're very interested in the lore, and reading the Warcraft books, and that gives you a lot of information. But your lore runs kind of give it a whole new meaning to all of it. You get so much information from your lore runs for Warcraft. I think that's how we both found you. Am I right in saying that, Nathan?
Actually, I found him a couple years ago when the first WoW Chronicles book came out. I had just started listening to Audible, plug for Audible, even though we're not sponsored. But like when I'm at work, I do assembly for airplane parts, and I just turn on audiobooks while I'm working instead of listening to music or whatever. And I was so freaking ticked because they didn't have an audiobook for the Chronicles, and they haven't had it for any of them that they come out with. And so I was desperately searching through YouTube trying to find somebody reading the first WoW Chronicles book because I really wanted to listen to it because I never put out the money to pay for it because I'm a shill. And but I also don't take the time to read. Like, so if I listen to a book, it's all audio wise. So I was scrolling through YouTube trying to find somebody, and you popped up, and I was like, man, I really hope this is legit. And I popped it on, and you started reading it, and I was like, fuck yes, it's about time. Like, I was so ecstatic that I found somebody that was reading it, and I loved listening to it. And not only did you read the book, but you interjected and you tied in additional information and, your thoughts on it, which made it so much better of a listen because, you had outside sources filling in, missing blanks or whatever. And then I think at the same time you were doing the WoW lore run I think that was actually in the middle of it. And I was like, oh.
It was, yeah. That's when the release came out for the Chronicles book. And we'd been planning to do the read of that for months at that point. It just kind of coincided.
Right. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, he's doing a WoW lore run. And so like I was trying to keep up with the streams on Twitch while you were doing them during the day. And then frantically at night when I had free time, I was trying to go back and start from the beginning, trying to catch up to where you were. And I think finally I did catch up, and it was probably the most badass stuff as far as WoW lore runs or any kind of WoW information I've ever listened to. So that's actually how I found you, was from the Chronicles reading. So.
It's actually amusing that you say that. I always feel like that first Chronicles reading, it wasn't, like I say, it was planned for months, but it wasn't like I set up like this whole thing. It wasn't a very professional setup. I just sat there and read the book.
That's how we.
And I always feel embarrassed about that. I want to go back and be like, can I redo that? Make that better. Like, I don't know if you saw the Chronicles 3 one, for example, but I actually got in the game and started, like, I pulled the game so you could see,
right,
like a visual representation of where we were talking about as I was reading the book and trying to have appropriate music play for the right area and all that kind of thing. And trying to be a little more professional about it. And I look at the original thing, it's just me sitting there in my Hawaiian t-shirt, like, so, there's these guys called the Titans, right? God damn it, I want to redo that.
Yeah.
Damn, I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I listened to them as well, and I really enjoyed them. I do really like that. The thing I like the most, first of all, I was in the same boat. You know, I listen to audiobooks all the time because with my job, I can't be watching something, and I can't be,
reading
or anything like that. So I have to listen to it, and just having that on and just listening to it in the background, I'm like, yes, like I want them to have an audiobook version, and you pretty much provided an audiobook version, so Blizzard should pay you. But
I would accept it. I'd be okay with that.
But I think even better than a audiobook of the Chronicles books is that extra lore that you add in. You add in like, oh, well, this is what we thought about this part of the lore, but it turns out that it's a little different, and you kind of add in your own, you kind of interject into the book and say stuff like that. And I really appreciated that. It was really well done.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I have to admit, the first book especially, there were so many things in that where it's just like, what? Like, that was the first time we really found out about the world soul concept.
Right.
And the idea of what exactly the Void Lords. In fact, I believe that was the first time the Void Lords were ever name dropped.
I think so.
Was in the first Chronicle book. And there was just so many things like, really? And I was like, guys, you remember with Raytheon back in Pandaria, right? Because they kept referencing things that that he had referenced, that he had hinted at. It's like, God, they actually had this planned out. Holy crap. It was just really cool seeing that, seeing contiguous continuity lore in Warcraft. It was awesome for once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I don't know if they actually planned for that or they just strung all this stuff together and then they used the Chronicles book to retcon and fill in all the blanks so that it made it look like they knew what they were doing the entire time. So.
That's probably more accurate.
Oh, I guarantee you that they started making it up at a certain point. But I've always had the personal theory that pretty much right about Pandaria, they sat down and said, "Can we smooth this out? Right. Can we just decide what actually happened and stick to that?" I know I say that jokingly, but I do mean that sincerely. I think they really did sit down and say, let's actually iron out the lore. And part of the reason I feel that is because so many of the lead creative designers, so many of the lead writers bowed out of WoW at Legion. And I feel like they wanted to smooth out the rough edges so that the next team could keep going with a smoother platform, a more solid baseline to keep writing the lore in.
Right. Yeah,
but that's just my opinion. I don't know. I have no idea.
I agree with that. I think that's the thing. I mean, the whole story in the first Chronicle book about Pandaria and them being a part of like the Kalimdor before the I can't think of it right now.
Before the Ancients, or are you referring to the Sundering?
The Sundering, not the Shattering. I kept thinking of the Shattering for some reason, but the
different
Sundering.
Thing.
So pre-Sundering, like I had no idea that Pandaren and Mogu were even around, and that kind of filled in the gaps on where they were and what was going on. So I think a lot of it was filling in the gaps, but I think it's good. It's definitely good to have that information.
Oh no, I agree. I mean, if we were just going by the original games, imagine how much lore was in Warcraft 1.
Yeah,
right.
0.
0.
Yeah.
So there's orcs and there's humans. There's humans too. There's no elves yet.
King Lane was this lawful good, just like arm up in the air for the Alliance kind of character, like no emotion to him whatsoever. It was the best. But it's I really enjoyed the Chronicles readings and of course the lore runs as well. Because when I play WoW, I do enjoy the game, but when a new expansion comes out, for me, I feel like it's a race with everyone else in like a guild, and I don't ever, half the time I'm not reading what's going on.
Oh, dude, don't do that.
Yeah. I'm a horrible person. I know.
Do you mind if I share a story really quick?
Yeah, go ahead,
man.
When I was going through the Kata section of the lore run, I cannot count how many times I had someone saying, I had no idea these quests were in the Cataclysm section. And I don't mean the 80 to 85. I mean the 1 to 60. Yeah. All the new stuff they did for Kalimdor and for East Kingdoms. And people are like, I had no idea there's this whole quest arc that goes from Ashenvale to Stone Talon to South Barrens. It's one cohesive arc. I need to go play that stuff.
That was probably me. Like, I was probably one of those people.
It's just Aaron chat. Hey, I should go do that. But no, I mean, it's true because so many people are just, in my opinion, one of the biggest flaws of WoW I shouldn't say that. One of the biggest flaws of the community of WoW, I say that very specifically, is that competitive nature. And don't mistake this as an anti-PvP message. Right. I actually am fully in favor of competitiveness, but I do feel like some people just go out of their way to remove some of their enjoyment of the game because they gotta. Because, okay, we got to start raiding, right? Yep. We got to get ready for the next raid cycle. We know they always release in advance when the raid patches are happening. And when what wings or what's going live for Mythic or for normal, right? And so forth and so on. And I feel like too many people just I had the exact same thing happen in Legion where people are like, I've never actually done High Mountain, right? I didn't know there was a cool story. There's actually 3 cool stories up there, and they all kind of tie in together. And it's just, God, wow, that's really cool. And I'm like, yeah. That's my job. Blizzard, I'm available. I'm just saying.
Yeah, Blizzard, hook them up, dude. Because that's exactly what it was for me. Like, as soon as Legion released, I think actually Ascend was still living with me at the time. And we had a few people over, and it was literally the race to 110. And I think we hit it in like, I don't know, maybe 15 hours. We just grinded through it so fast. Oh my God. We didn't pay attention to the storyline. And by the time I got to the end, I was like, I'm never going back and doing that again because I just got burned out from doing it in 15 straight hours. And so I'm lucky we have you around that goes back and goes through it all so I can actually learn what the story is, because otherwise I'd have no idea.
So there's some demons, and they're invading somewhere.
There's stuff that we kill. That's about the extent of what I figured out.
Lots of stuff.
I mean, I do involve myself generally with the lore because, like I said, I RP, so I have to know what's going on.
Well, yeah.
To make
if you're wandering around saying, "Yeah, Teldrassil should totally burn," and right? I mean, you can't say that jokingly anymore. It's not funny anymore.
Yeah.
Too soon?
Yeah, not anymore. Too soon.
Well, funnily enough, we still don't know what causes that to this very minute. As of this recording, we still don't know what causes that burning. I've been watching very carefully that whole affair.
I was really hoping that before the storm would answer that, and it didn't.
I know, right? I was like, "Hey, I'll get this book."
I enjoyed the book, but I felt like there should have been a lot more leading up to what's happening in BFA, and there wasn't. And I was kind of like, "Man, come on,
dude."
Give us some more information.
When we got to the point, I won't spoil anything for people who probably haven't read it yet, but
spoil it.
When the person came back at the end, and then it ended, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
I know, the fact that was the ending point. I've actually had so many people ask me lore questions about that, and my response is always the same.
We have no idea.
There's no information. It's like I don't have anything to speculate on because there's nothing there.
Exactly.
Although I do have my own personal theory on it, which I will not share because I don't want to spoil. But I do have my own personal theory on what's going on. All I will say for anybody who's followed my lore run is Type 4.
Type 4.
That's all I'll say.
That's exactly what I was telling Asin, because I was actually following the Legion lore run. I was probably the one hyping it up in chat every time I came in, and I was making everybody take drinks. You're like, "Oh, somebody asked about Legion lore run. Take a drink." I was like, "Fuck."
Take a drink. Yep, take another drink. Come on. Oh, here we go. Okay. It was such a regular thing, too. I swear I'm doing it, guys.
But, going back through, like you said, Cataclysm, I think this was a post-Cataclysm quest line, but there's several things you notice going through. For example, the Nazgrim storyline. I'm sure you remember that. Like, he pretty much ascends through the ranks as you're leveling up, and then he ends up being a boss.
He was actually there as of Wrath was when he very first showed up.
Yeah, and I was like, man, this is great. Like, I never knew this was here, and once again, I didn't read the quests, but I just kept seeing Nazgrim, and every time I saw him,
reason. I don't know who he is. He's an orc, I think. There's orcs. I know there's orcs in this game. I'm very certain of that.
And every time I saw him, he was a higher rank. I was like, "Oh, this guy's like working it, man. He's getting his hours in." But I'm also an Alliance player, so I don't.
No, I don't. I like to say for Azeroth. That's my take on that.
There you go.
I think one of my favorite things that I took away from the WoW lore run is your definition of the Horde. Like your definition, being a family, and the fact that your definition of Horde and the game's definition of Horde are two completely different things. And
Well,
I swear the writers just need to decide what they want to do with these factions, because they don't. They haven't. It's like, okay, we're the Horde. We're the bad guys. Well, wait. But now we're the honorable. But now we're the desperate. But now we're family. But now we're the bad guys again. Make up your mind. Make up your mind and stick with it. It's all
we're going to email Blizzard and tell them to contact you to fill in the blanks.
I have ideas, son.
For days.
Ideas for days.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, just from reading Before the Storm, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but just from reading that, it World of Warcraft is the only thing that makes me think they're keeping the factions as is, just because of the game. You know what I mean? I think if it was up to the storyline, if it was just like a book by itself with no game attached to it, the Horde would have broken up like a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I also think the Alliance would have at least partially fractured.
For sure.
At several points in time. Like the idea that these disparate races keep going together basically because of momentum in lore is just kind of eyebrow raising, right? I think I brought that up during the Legion lore. It's like, let's examine the governments of each of these races for a second and how they don't fit with each other at all.
Yeah.
But they keep going because, like you said, gameplay. We have to keep the faction thing going.
Yeah.
I think it would be awesome to see an expansion where you see a third faction arise, and
God, I want that so bad.
That would be amazing. Just for storyline purposes, it would be amazing.
I've been wanting that for so long.
Yeah,
I've been wanting that since vanilla. That's not a joke. I really have.
Like the Forsaken, they'd so be out of the Horde in like 2 seconds.
Oh God, yes! Get out of my Horde. Go away. Like there are decent Forsaken. You know, Alonzo's Foul. He's awesome, right? Although he's not really Forsaken, but you get my point. You know, there are decent undead. You know, bring a couple of them over. I'd have to go really sift through the names to find the individuals. But the Forsaken, the Sylvanas' Dark Lady, I wish to be an aristocratic leader of death. Go over there. Get in your giant castle so I can siege it later. Okay. No, I'm sorry. I don't actually want that. I really don't. I don't want him to do Garrosh again.
Yeah,
I really don't.
I hope not.
Yeah.
I'm worried that they're going to, because it's just the same story again. I don't want that.
Well, I do think at the end of WoW, whenever that is, I think at the end of WoW, it's safe to say, like, it's safe to bet that it's going to be Anduin and Bane.
Yeah.
That's what I think it'll be, just because they're the two peaceful guys.
I mean, I'd support Bane. I'm with that.
Yeah, but if it wasn't up to WoW, Bane probably would have joined the Alliance.
Yeah.
Probably.
And probably the Blood Elves too.
Probably. Yeah.
Maybe. That's actually a little more debatable now that I think about it. Because there's a lot of bad blood there, going back as far as Warcraft 2.
Especially with the Night Elves. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I've always personally felt, and I know a lot of people disagree with this, that the Night Elves should have joined the Horde back in vanilla. That should have been part of the original setup. Because
really?
There was so much. Yeah, absolutely. For obvious geological things, but because the Tauren and the Night Elves, even back in the older lore, before they really codified all this, always had a strong connection to each other, partially because they both were the Druids, right? Mm-hmm. And the idea of the original Horde, which was, the good guys. I shouldn't say it that way, because obviously the lines would be. But my point is, they were also good. The original Horde. I shouldn't say the original Horde. That's Thrall's Horde. Let's just call it Thrall's Horde. There's 6 hordes. Okay, what do you want from me? I can name them. There's the demonic Horde. There's the Fell Horde. There's the Dark Horde. There's the Iron Horde. There's the disgusting Horde. That's Garrosh's. There's Thrall's Horde, and arguably there's also the new Horde. And those of you who have read the book know what I'm talking about there.
Yep.
The 7 hordes. Anyways, Thrall's Horde was always a kind of faction that, peace, making peace with the land, working in unison with nature and harmony. I could totally see that. Mm-hmm. And I always felt that the Night Elves had a stronger connection to them than people they've basically never interacted with, except for Jaina, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I the reason I think they chose to put them in the Alliance is mostly because while they might not be close to any Alliance races, like really buddy with them, they do not like the orcs.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So there's bad blood there. So if the Tarn were with the Night Elves, it would have to be a third faction again. Like it just wouldn't work in that sense. I don't know.
It sounds like a third faction idea, even as a vanilla, might have been. No, I'm sorry. Dead horse. Moving on. Like, in all honesty, I really have been championing this idea since vanilla, and you basically just highlighted where the idea originally started. Let's get the Taurens Let's get the night elves and, well, honestly, that was it at the beginning. Let's get them together. Let's put them over there. Because if you remember, back in vanilla, the humans were the corrupt ones. You remember that?
Right.
Like almost every human story arc, especially going through the human starter zones, was all about how humanity was just screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the Archbishop was old god, and
yeah, it's
they're really corrupt. I mean, I think they definitely seem like the good guys.
Oh yeah, that's clearly the direction it's going in.
Well, that's just how they painted it, but
I
Kid
I don't want to get anyone upset at me. I just think that no, I really don't.
Right.
Because too often, let me say something in my defense, if I may. Too many people have accused me of defending the Horde, and while that is a true statement, the main reason I do that is nobody else does it.
Right.
Like when the alliance doesn't need defending, right? It does crap stuff every now and again, and then otherwise it's fine. But nobody defends the Horde, and so I end up being more of a defender of the Horde. But I'm not really pro-Horde, and I'm not really pro-Alliance. Now, having given that boilerplate, I do think that the current writing team is going a little bit too hard on the Warcraft 2 nostalgia angle and making the Horde the bad guys and the Alliance the good guys. And I just don't care for that personally. Yeah, I don't want the good guys versus the bad guys, at least not amongst the playable races.
I don't either, and I've always liked, that's why I like Warcraft orcs so much more than like Lord of the Rings orcs. Because Warcraft orcs actually have a personality, and they have, they can be good and honorable people, and orcs are always put in a bad light in pretty much any other universe. So
I agree.
So I do like that about Warcraft. But with that said, and since we're talking about Warcraft, I actually spoke to some guildies and some people from the RP community, and I got some questions.
Oh no! I'm ready. Hang on, I actually have a shield. It's a Hyrulean shield. I'm gonna go grab it really quick. No, it's in storage. I'm not gonna pull it out. Go ahead.
That's funny.
But they are lore questions. Some of these, actually, all of them, I don't really know.
I'm going to fail all
you
of
might
these.
not either.
If this is like a quiz,
it's not.
Hang on, let me pull up Google really quick for no reason. No, I'm kidding. You could hear my typing if I was doing it. I'm ready. Hit me.
All right. So first, what year is it right now in current time in the game?
36, I want to say. I looked this up recently.
Yeah, I want to say it's like 35, 36. Now,
I was looking up what Talia's age was, and she's 2 years older than Arthas was. And Arthas was born at -14, I want to say. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we're at 36. I think. Don't quote me on that. It's somewhere around there. Sorry.
And is it so now? Like, okay, so in the negative, it went by before the Dark Portal. What does it go by now? Is it like King's Calendar?
After the Dark Portal.
So
it's just every year after the Dark Portal. That is the central calendar of the Warcraft timeline.
Makes it easy.
All right, so there you go. Yeah, that's easy. So 36 years after the Dark Portal. Man, so someone that's been RPing as a human since Vanilla WoW.
They're about dead, dude.
They're about dead.
Their life expectancies aren't that bad.
You better be a mage, or you better retire that character.
Depends on if they were RPing as an adult during Vanilla.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That's true.
Right.
That's funny.
So this one is a little. I actually never noticed this, but obviously when they told me, I checked it out, and I'm very curious as well to see if you know this. But why is Thoradin's wall facing away from Stromgarde, where Thoradin ruled? So, if you go to Thoradin's wall, the ramparts are on the side of Hillsbrad.
Yep.
I'm picturing it in my mind right now, and
it like makes no sense to me. It's almost like they just flip-flopped it because they didn't know or something.
If you're asking for a lore explanation for that, I can make one up.
Okay.
Hang on.
Go ahead. Like, what's
thousands of years ago, there was this. I'll get my Yoda voice. Thousands of years ago, there were these people who came along and said, "You know what? Maybe you should build it this way," and it was built the other way. I don't have an answer for that one. I have noticed that because when you said that, I went silent because I was remembering back when they added flying to that in Cataclysm. I remember flying around and seeing that, and being like, "Huh?" And I was like, "Pax, come look at this." It's like, "Oh, but we never actually followed through on it, so I don't have an answer."
Yeah,
Thoradin was not a good architect. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
He wasn't
the
very
answer.
smart.
Thornton
He tried.
We'll do that. We'll go with that. So as of where the lore is now, would high elves be permitted to go into Qualthalas or Silvermoon?
Yes, absolutely. If Illyria could be led in, knowing she is a void elf, I'm pretty sure high elves would have no problems going in.
Well,
there was also a short story. Well, yeah, but there was also a short story, if I may, where I don't remember the name of it, but it was one where they went to visit several of the high elves who were in the Eastern Plaguelands. There were actually a little quest hub there for a while, which is gone now, I think. And they informed them basically of the fact that the Sunwell was reconnected. And their response was basically, "You're right, holy crap. I had no idea. This feeling is power. I wasn't sure, but it feels amazing." I like to think that for all of the political differences, as of right now, there's nothing preventing a high elf from making a pilgrimage. Especially with Lorerunner in charge.
Right.
Lorerunner is probably one of the most moderate blood elves I've ever seen. It's one of the reasons I like him. And again, I point to the Illyria thing. When Illyria requested that, what's his name? The other guy, the mage, was like, "No," and Lorerunner was like, "I am not going to disallow her from visiting our most sacred spot." Okay, dude. In a slightly more noble sense of, "I will never allow someone to be forbidden from the lands of most holy," or something like that.
Yeah.
You know how they talk in Warcraft.
So
yeah.
So I personally think, they could actually go there.
So even after,
because
as long as they could.
Even after they the void elves were they're part of the alliance now, do you think that would still be permitted?
Absolutely, without hesitation. The only thing I tend to think in terms of complexity. Forgive me. So I think what would happen is a high elf would have to basically petition, say, "Hey, I want to see the Sunwell.
Yeah, right.
I have no ulterior motives. You can follow me or whatever. I want to see the Sunwell. I want to visit the Sunwell and react and just freaking pilgrimage to it." And I think they would be allowed. My opinion.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Sylvanas wouldn't approve of that. But I don't care.
That's a big debate right now in the RP community because there are people that like to RP in Qualthalas as high elves. And there's a certain amount of people that completely hate that. They're like, that's not lore abiding. But I don't know what basis they're saying that on. I'm not a Horde player, so I don't have to deal with that. But,
well, you see over here in the Horde, we're the bad guys.
We're the bad
so we
guys.
Can't be hanging out in Silvermoon.
So this next question might be easy, or it might be something that it just isn't known by anybody. So I personally don't know it. But did Kelthus Sunstrider, does he have any siblings?
No.
There you go.
So there's no heir.
I think there is a heir to the throne, but it's like one of those cousin situations. Okay. I was looking this up recently. It's the only reason it's in my mind. I'm actually hitting Google right now. I'll admit it. But I'm not looking up Kael'thas. I'm looking up Anatheron.
Anatheron, yeah.
Because I swear he's got one surviving member at this point.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I wonder if that's the case, though. If he's the heir, why is Lorthamar still the acting leader?
I mean, I could give a reason why that should be, because Lorthamar has a goddamn brain, but
that is true. Yeah.
Ignoring that, there is also the fact that right now, I actually talked about this during the Legion lore run, most of the factions, most of the individual racial factions are dictatorships, military dictatorships specifically, and Lorthamar is the high general of the military forces of Qualthalas. So he just kind of automatically has that position of power. Here we go, family tree, this is what I was looking for. There's Anasterian.
So he's pretty much Adolf Hitler. Got it.
Oh, apparently there was actually, yes, just like Anduin. There was also apparently, in one of the comics, there was actually a brother of Kael'thas. God damn it, Kael'thas.
Kael'thas, wrong guy.
Okay, never mind. They never actually explicitly call him part of the dynasty. So I was right, and he doesn't have any. And it looks like the only possible surviving member would be Lyanndra. And she's not a good... Do you remember who Lyanndra is?
I have no idea.
Is she the paladin? The Blood Knight?
No, not Liadrin. Sorry,
okay,
Lyanndra.
Okay, I was thinking of Liadrin.
I know they all sound the same. I just made the same mistake. She, if you're doing the fire artifact quest to go get Felamalorn in Icecrown, you encounter Lyanndra. She's undead now and under the third Lich King's control.
I didn't do mage, so I have no idea.
She is a Sunstrider, but to my knowledge, and I just looked it up, so I was right, she is the last one.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be too keen to have an undead lead. So.
It'll be fine. They're a little rotting and they destroy their entire civilization twice, but it's cool. We're cool now.
Take over
okay?
Silverman would be good.
Hang on. You can't see it. I'm putting on the glasses. Got the sunglasses on. Very cool,
Oh, shit. That's
all
funny.
right. And the last question that I chose to put on here that I'm interested in as well is the Blood Elves. There's an option for them in BFA to have golden eyes now as like a aesthetic, and I don't know what that's about because I haven't looked into it. So hopefully we can fill that in.
I can.
Here we go.
We get a little spoiler.
That's fine.
All right. Well, spoiler alert.
Spoiler
people.
alert.
All right.
Okay. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. I have to discuss. Okay. So, do you know what light forging is?
I mean, I'm aware of it just because of the Light Forge Draenei, but I don't know the process of what it takes to do that.
So from what we know, and I have to say it that way because it hasn't been fully discussed yet, light forging is when a Naru takes you and basically bathes you in the light to the part where you become a partially metaphysical being, partially fused with the light.
Huh.
It does change your personality. It does change some of who and what you are. I personally have the theory that it makes you partially elemental based on the rules of the setting, but that's a separate thing.
Makes sense.
Well, no,
it makes sense. Yeah.
I've had a theory about that for a while. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, we do know that they can light forge people against their will. Obviously, this was attempted on Illidan in the most infamous example.
Right.
But we also, and this is where we get into a little more spoilers, know they're doing this to orcs and other Draenei in the alternate timeline and alternate Draenor.
Oh, shit.
And they are forcing them, and I want to stress that word, not convicting.
Converting.
Conscripting.
Scripting.
Yeah, converting them into these light forged, and once they do so, they immediately become obedient. Yes, I will do whatever you ask, Naru.
Mm-hmm.
And given that there's a couple other things in the game, especially in BFA itself, and I'm trying to dance around as many spoilers as I can here, I'm pretty sure that option is going to be allowed cosmetically because Blood Elves are going to be allowed the option of getting a little closer to the light.
Now, I don't know. Is that going to be
thing.
available for like a lot of races? Because I've only heard of it for Blood Elves.
I'm not sure. I don't know where they're going with this story yet. It's probably the one. Forgive me for revealing my bias here. It's probably the second of two things that sounds interesting to me about BFA's story. Because I really don't care about the war. That's great. Yep. Okay. But they've got this whole undercurrent of the Naru being a new threat. The idea is that the Naru are not evil, but they are now unrestrained. That there's no legion balancing off the scale, right? And so the idea is they're just spreading and spreading and spreading. And I feel, can I share one little thing from the book that I think?
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
One little tidbit from the book was when Anduin first interacted with the Azurite, and he has this vision. I forget the exact wording, but the book says something along the lines of, I could find a way to make everyone happy, to make sure everyone was together and everyone was unified and at peace. And that right there is kind of what I feel like where they're going with this whole unrestrained Naru, unrestrained light.
A crusade.
Yeah, basically a bright
shit.
crusade or a whatever you want to call it. A blinding crusade. That's what it is. The blinding crusade.
See, that's why we need people like you in this community, because that shit would never have crossed my mind in a million years.
I am a weirdo. I'll admit it.
What if,
I am.
like, I'm just like theory crafting in my mind right now. What if, like, end game, the Void Lords are like the good guys?
Oh, Jesus.
Fuck.
Like the light
We're
is
just trying
actually
to fix things.
because I mean,
trying to keep the balance here, guys.
like because when the Naru thing happened with Illidan, they just reminded me a little. They were a little Scarlet Crusade. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
So like if they're going
we-
in that direction with the light, then it seems pretty bad.
Well, plus we've known for years upon years that the light is not inherently good, right?
Right.
I mean, at the absolute bare minimum, going back to WoW Vanilla with the Scarlet Crusade, as you say, there were plenty of people who could cast Holy Light and use Crusader Strike and other holy abilities while being incredibly evil.
Yep.
So, light, I've said this so many times, light is a power source. It's not a good or evil thing. It's just there. And
Yeah, I think a good way to
we're starting
explain
to
it is if I feel like I'm doing something right, then it works for me.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with the Scarlet Crusade. They got so addicted to, cleansing, that they went crazy with the light, and in their own minds they're completely right. So I think that's how it kind of what it comes down to.
Oh no, absolutely, I agree. I mean, the whole Dreadlord thing didn't help, but I'm not saying that to be dismissive.
Right.
I honestly agree with you. I think if Balnazar had never gotten involved, if Dathrahan never happened, I still think the Scarlet Crusade would have been a thing, and I still think it would have been a bad thing. For the exact same reasons you state. They got a little bit too into it, and it got to the point where they'd find a town. It's like, is anyone here undead? There's only one way to be sure. And they did that. They went and purged living cities and living towns because,
that's only one way to find out.
That's their thing. I firmly believe that would have been a problem, even without a freaking demon coercing them.
Yeah.
It'll be funny to see if BFA takes it that way or not. With the,
I'm really curious at this point.
I hope they do.
I hope they do too. The other storyline, by the way, just really quick, that interests me is what I'm calling the saving the world storyline. I know it's a minor subplot of the war between the Horde and the Alliance, but I don't know if you've done the Silithus quest yet for turning in your artifact.
Yeah.
But and for anybody listening to this, of course. But forgive me for spoiling. There's this awesome speech that Khadgar gives. It's wonderful. The voice actor nails it. Yep. Please have your sound on when you play it. He's just, this is horrible. I am not joining the war. He flat out says that. I will not turn my back and turn on you people. I will not turn my weapons on one side or another. I'm going to try and fix the world. And I just sat here like, yes, Khadgar, you're awesome. And then I go talk to Magni, and Magni's like, oh, laddie, the whole world's hurting, and we really need someone to be able to stand up for Azeroth. And I'm like, yes, I have got your back, Magni. Absolutely.
And then you go to war with the Horde.
And then I go to war with the Horde, or I go to war with the Alliance, or whatever. Why?
Yeah.
God.
It does seem a little off for this expansion to happen right now. But I mean, I'm still excited for it because I am a PvP player. That's what I enjoy doing. Other than
are you looking forward to war mode?
Oh yeah,
whatever they call it.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
can't think what it's called.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, that's awesome. I am not a PvPer, and I am excited about that. Exactly. That is so awesome that they are. So a lot of people think I'm anti-PvP. That's utterly not the truth. I am anti being forced to PvP.
Right.
Yeah.
I love the idea of them encouraging PvP, encouraging world PvP, giving benefits to it, making it more dynamic. I love the assassin idea. That's great.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking forward to poking around with that with my friends. Like, all right, guys, let's make a squad. Let's hit a zone and see what happens, right?
Yeah, I don't know how much beta you've played, but I got beta access not too long ago, and I've been kind of like, I don't like to ruin the story or any of that, so I've just kind of been like poking here and there, trying to get the feel for my classes that I play.
You don't like to ruin the story that you're gonna rush through anyway. When
look, okay, I actually had this conversation with my younger brother the other day. I was like, man, this expansion, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to read the quest log, and I'm going to follow the lore. And then I get on the beta, and what do? Just click accept, and I'm going. I don't
well, that's the beta. That's the beta. Yeah. It's okay. But, if I could give really quick, I could give one piece of advice.
Yeah.
Watch the story on the Alliance side. It's really political. It's all of this different houses who are arguing. Kultiras is not a nation. It's like 6 different houses and powers, and they're all bickering and they're all fighting, and you're trying to coerce them or work with them or break them down or whatever you have to do. It's a wonderfully political story. Please do yourself a favor and pay attention to it as you go through it.
I've been kind of like paying attention to little pieces because like me and the son were talking back before I got the beta, and we had swapped to Horde for a little bit, and we swapped back to Alliance. And he's like, I'm kind of disappointed because the Horde story arc seems better because it's like a plot overthrow or whatever in Zandalari. And I was like, dude, I've played the beta a little bit now, and there's some plot overthrowing going on the Alliance side, and all 3 zones are super good.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm excited for it. It's just when it first got announced, it seemed like the Kultira storyline was all about pirates and treasure, and that's how they kind of sold it. And the Zandalar whole storyline with Rostakan and I forgot the troll's name that is the rebellion.
Zul. Oh no, not him.
Yeah,
you're
I think it is
the other guy.
Zul.
No, you're talking about the general, aren't you?
No,
Zul's the prophet.
The witch doctor or whatever that betrays Rastakhan. I don't know. I think his name is Zul. He was in Zul-Aman in the beginning.
No, that's oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. I know you're talking about. He's actually been in Vanilla and in Kata, and he's coming back in BFA, and I can't think of his name.
Yeah, but
he's not the other guy. He's not the general guy who's kind of your main antagonist for one of the zones. Because like he was saying there, the hordes, don't want to undersell the horde story. The horde story is also pretty awesome from what I've seen.
Yeah.
It's basically, here's the Zandalari culture, huge culture dump, tons of awesome backstory and lore and history there, but also you are basically deciding the future of the Zandalari as a government. Government. Yeah. And I really like that idea.
Yeah, and
they've been failing miserably for how many expansions trying to hurt us and just breaking on the walls of our existence. And they're like, all right. You want to come visit just peacefully, just this once? Just come hang out, be chill. What should we do going forward? We haven't really had anything working out for the last millennia or two.
Netflix and chill, boys.
Can we just fix this, please?
Yeah, I mean,
no, it's cool. It's cool. I love it.
I love the direction they're going in, just because with Kultiris, it's kind of going in like a merchant republic, houses that have this power, and then Zandalar with this trying to overthrow power. Because I'm always in video games, I'm really always interested in like political and economic stuff. When I play like Civilization or something, I like to go economy route, or when I play games like that. So I really like that. I think I'm going to enjoy both storylines a lot, just because they're going down that path instead of just, hey, go kill this guy because he did something. Now it's going to
He's the bad guy. You should kill him.
He's the bad guy.
You could tell because he looks ugly. What, have you ever played a Fire Emblem game? That's how you always tell. There's like someone shows up and he looks like this disheveled. Says, hi, how are things going? And you're like, it's the villain. It's the villain.
I'm a huge Fire Emblem fan, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, it's a real thing, guys. Anybody listening to this, that's a real thing.
He's
they always
ugly.
have like bags under their eyes.
Or for any Futurama fans out there, they said you look like jerks. They look like jerks.
Oh shit!
No, I'm into the. I know this is going to sound strange, but I'm kind of into the economics thing too.
Yeah.
And I love a good political story, a properly done political story. Yeah. And I really do like that they're going more in that direction. I just don't know if that's really the direction they're going in, as weird as that may sound. Because I really feel like there's some, this is just my impression. I really feel like there's some miscommunication or misdirect going on. One of the two amongst the Blizzard writing staff of trying to figure out where they want to go. I mean, to use an example, the book, there's no politics there. Like there's a few tiny snippets. I shouldn't be dismissive, but it's a much more static. This is Anduin's story. This is Sylvanas' story, and good guy, bad guy kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then there's the game, which is doing like you said, and like I said, is just this heavily. Okay, there's the houses, and here's the army, and this army is being taken by this guy, and he's using this other power to back his forces so he can try and move on this territory. And it's like, wait, what does this have to do with the good guys versus the bad guys? I'm confused. I don't get it. I feel like there's some disconnect, and I've been saying this since the announcement, that there's a misdirect, that they are actually screwing with us actively at this point.
That's what I'm waiting to see.
Like, okay,
they turn it.
One really big thing. I don't know if you two have seen this. Have you two played the lead up to like the Astronar scenario in the beta right now?
I have not. No.
Okay. Do you mind if I spoil it a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So this is from memory, so please forgive me. But the Horde version of the Astronar scenarios, you get there and it's like, all right, we've got to defeat the soldiers and you can't attack the civilians. And when I say you can't, I mean, in lore, they say, do not attack the civilians. It's Varrock, right? It's Varrock Sarfang. Right. So he's like, no, don't touch the civilians. Don't torch the buildings. We need to go through here precisely, stop them militarily and move forward. And they're literally green mobs. You cannot hurt them. And then you do that and you move on. Then you do the Alliance version where your job is to go around finding the Horde assassins who have been specifically targeting civilians and have been massacring the place, and the place is on fire.
Right.
There is such a wide disconnect between these two scenarios that it's actually getting kind of hard to theory craft at this point. And I personally have only three. I'd love to hear your guys' theories, but forgive me. My theories are either this is literally Blizzard screwing with us because they can do a fake scenario just to give us misleading data. This is an in character and in lore screwing with us. We are literally, from old gods or mind affecting rays or whatever. Or there is some massive gulf of time in between these scenarios, and someone is basically being the evil horde behind the real horde, if you follow me.
I mean, could it be Sylvanas playing in the shadows? Like, she's having her commanders do, their thing, send out the orders not to attack civilians, but in the background, she's having, her dark people, dark lady, or what other rangers are called, assassinating people,
evil guys, whatever.
Yeah, in the background.
Yeah, no, that's like I said, that's kind of my third theory, is that this is Sylvanas or whomever else being like, yeah, no, I'm an honorable leader. Make sure to kill all the babies in their cribs. Like, I feel like that's where they're going with this. Possibly,
well,
I don't know.
I do feel like they're going in that direction too. But what I would like to see, from my perspective, I would like it to be like beneath the whole war and everything, there's some old god stuff going on.
There has to be at this point.
I would love.
Well, with the Azerite, I think they would have to pull in old god influence somewhere.
I mean, from what I got from the book, Azerite is like sniffing cocaine or something. That's what I got out of it.
Oh my god, Azerite is super. No, have either of you seen Star Trek Into Darkness? Real quick,
I have seen that one. Yeah.
Okay, so Azerite is super blood.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's a. I don't like Azerite. I'm sorry. Let me get my opinion out there. I don't like it because I feel like they're using it too much as a catch-all.
Right.
Yeah.
It can superpower this ship. It's going to make the super, like in the war mode in Arathi Basin, it's going to make the super mechs, right?
Right.
It can turn this explosive into something super explosive. It can heal someone a lot. It can empower you. It can grow hair. That's a real thing, by the way.
God modding, basically.
Yeah, it's just. It's like I feel like they're overusing that a bit, but that would make sense in lore if this is literally void mixed with arcane,
right?
Yeah,
I mean, yeah,
and that is my personal theory. I don't think this is Titan blood. Everyone keeps saying it's Titan blood. No, we've seen Titan blood. We've interacted with Titan blood.
Right.
This feels like something else, and that's my theory. I think it's Titan blood mixed with, like you say, old gods.
I would love to find out that they're seeing these two different scenarios. You're seeing them how they are just because it's some kind of hallucination. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. That would be a nice way to help make this make a little bit of sense.
Yeah.
And of course, it doesn't help, as anyone who was paying attention did, which wasn't either of you two. During Legion, I'm sorry, that's a joke. That's a joke. I just realized you can't see my
morally
face.
Assaulted.
No, but in Legion, there was actually more old god buildup than there was demon in like all the quest zones.
Yeah.
And all of the stuff we were going through. There was tons of it. And they're just little details every now and again. I mean, the freaking Emerald Nightmare and Zelatath, and you go in and it's like, it's gone. But don't worry, it'll come back. Like, what? We're fighting the Legion. Yeah, we'll get back to that. Here's some more old god stuff. It was everywhere. Yep. We had hidden mounts, which we had to go and do puzzles to do. And those were, all of them were old god oriented. You can't tell me they're not doing something with the old gods in this expansion. At least I hope they are.
That abyssal bookworm or whatever that mount was is so ugly. Like, I refuse to do it. Like, I was like, I don't want to ride that thing. Like, I'm good.
I did it just so I could disgust people.
I got it for the mount. I'm going to get it for the mount. Yeah. That's all. It's another one for the pile. Yep. I have this pyramid of mounts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was worried this would happen, and it's okay. I really enjoyed the conversation, but we've already freaking hit an hour here talking about WoW.
It's okay. It could have been talking about seltzer water the whole hour. That is true.
It could have been that. But no. One thing I did want to get in before we wrap it up is, have you ever thought about transcribing the lore runs and everything you do into a podcast?
Oh, absolutely. One of the biggest problems in my life is time. I push out 2 episodes Monday and Tuesday, an episode every Friday, and then I stream. I basically work 2 full-time jobs. That's not a complaint, but I don't have time to do a lot of projects I'd love to do. like that. I'd love to go back and codify and say, all right, boom, here's this, and boom, here's this, and just like do. Today's episode, we'll be talking about the Arathi Basin. Why this is happening. And just have like a section per zone and a section per arc and a section per character and push that out. I'd love to do that. I'd also love to do that if Blizzard would pay me. I'm just saying.
We're going to contact Blizzard.
Just saying, Blizzard. No, I would like to do that. But unfortunately or not, I'm not a WoW guy. Like Nobel, right? You know who Nobel is?
Yes. Nobel, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I hear his name said a few different ways, so I'm never sure how to say it. He's a WoW guy. That's his thing. That's all he does. I do everything. I do Star Trek. Exactly. I do StarCraft. I do Final Fantasy. I'm doing Diablo soon. I just covered Xenosaga, for God's sakes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I can't just devote myself just to WoW like that.
No, and I'm not talking about WoW specifically. I'm saying for all of your lore runs, just have like, all right, guys, the next 5 episodes on this podcast are going to be covering this, Fire Emblem or something, and then I don't know why you'd have 5 episodes on it, but
so let's really, really, really talk about how ugly that guy is. My God, have you seen his nose?
But you could do something like that, and time thing is definitely an issue for a lot of people that put a lot of work in their streams and everything, and I really enjoy your content, like all of it. I think it's really well done, and I really like what you do. So,
well, thank you. I hope you like the Fire Emblem stuff that's coming next month. I want to say
I've
already done it.
Which Fire Emblem?
I just want to say really quick, Fire Emblem 4 was a treat to go through. That was awesome. I've never played it before, so this is my first time. And that's Genealogy of the Holy War, specifically, if you're not familiar with the game. And then I played 8, which I think is Binding Sword, and then I played Fate's Revelation because I only had time for one of them.
I'm really excited for the new one that just got announced at E3.
I don't remember the name of it.
The Three Kings
army
or
one,
Three Armies, something like that. Fire Emblem.
Yeah, oh shoot, I don't remember the name of it. I'm excited for it. In fact, I think that premiere run is already funded as of now.
Oh,
it's not
nice.
even coming out until next year.
Right.
We don't even have a release date yet. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that one too. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, last thing we're gonna go over here before we wrap it up is our random thought of the day segment, and it's pretty simple. Out of all the things you do, your ruminations, your lore runs, your read of books, or any of that, anything that you do, what is the thing that you enjoy doing the most? Like, what's the one
theater.
thing?
I don't even have to think about that. I love doing the theater work.
I was actually watching that today. Favorite. And dude, the amount of time you have to spend putting into that would be like, I was literally watching you do that. And like when you're trying to split up all the separate audio files that come in, like you just have the people read out everything and then you have to go in there and split it up individually to match the text. I was like, I couldn't fucking do it. Like there's no way. So props to you for that, for sure.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's an enormous amount of work, but I love it. I love directing.
Mm-hmm.
I love putting my stamp on the story because FF9 is such an interpretable story that I have to say, okay, this is your motivation, this is your character, and I love hearing all the different lines and putting them all together and actually having a cohesive piece. And I released that teaser a couple weeks ago with some completed scenes to kind of show people what it's going to look like. That would be my number one. My number two, since that's probably not an applicable answer, is probably the premiere runs. I've really been really enjoying the premiere runs and sitting down and basically like, all right, let's see if this game's any good. Okay, it's crap. Next game for that. All right, that's this game. This game's good. This game's okay. I love doing that. I get a lot of viewer interaction. I love viewer interaction.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the favorite parts of my job in general is reading comments on YouTube or talking to people on stream or talking to people on Discord or whatever. And I love going through and trying to rate a game in as neutral as possible as I can. And I know that sounds weird,
right?
But ever since I started doing my original review, like my first review ever was actually Dragon Age Inquisition. And ever since then, I've kind of refined that format of the pluses and the minuses.
Right.
And I feel like, I don't know how to explain this. This is going to sound so pretentious, but I love that review method. I look at that review method, I'm like, yes, that fits in my brain. That's the best way I could explain that. I want to do more of that. And that's one of the reasons why I have something like 30 premiere runs already funded. I swear I'll have time to do them, guys. I swear. Just let me get caught up on YouTube first, please.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's your answer. Sorry for rambling. I know it's kind of my thing.
It's
So
all
what
right,
you're
man.
saying is, that the next CGI Warcraft film, you're going to be directing it, right?
Damn right. All right, listen. Their name is Thrall or Goel, but if you say Goel to me, I'm going to smack you. No, this is
wait.
You're
Wait.
going to come over here and you're going to be awesome. How do I be awesome? Just do it. Just be awesome. No, I don't do that. I don't do that.
Oh shit!
Wait, like, are you saying that they should have said Thrall in the movie?
No, because obviously that wouldn't have made sense.
Right.
But every time someone says Goel, as of now, like after all we've
Yeah.
done, it's literally
Oh, yeah.
been Thrall more than Goel. It's like, no,
I'm
stop.
gonna smash my
This
head
is
on
my
the
true
desk.
name. No, it isn't. Sorry. That is not your name. Well, and if I could also be so bold, one of the reasons I loved the name Thrall was he took something that should have been a mark of shame and turned it into something awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I like the theme
Mhm.
there. Like a mark of honor. I am Thrall. Bam! Awesome shaman,
Yeah.
And then he became Goel, and then he kind of went weird. And apparently he's going to be back in this expansion, although I don't want to spoil too much about that because I know some things about that. Whatever.
Anyway,
Oh, and I liked the Warcraft movie. Go ahead and hate me. It's okay.
Hey, I liked
I
it
actually
too.
liked
So
I
I like
did
the orcs
enjoy
better
it.
than the humans.
I do think
Not because I like the Horde, just because the humans were bad actors.
Yep.
I agree with you. I loved Travis Fimmel in Vikings, but I couldn't get
Mhm.
into him being Lothar.
Yeah, I don't know what was wrong with his performance. I really don't.
he's too
I mean,
like slack offish. Like he had like this arrogance factor of like I don't give a shit kind of attitude. And I
Well,
don't think
this is
that
the thing. He was playing Ragnar Lothbrok as Lothar. Like,
Yeah,
Exactly.
he was
I'll
the
agree
exact
with
same
that.
character.
And it's like, no, that's not Lothar. Your name is Lothar. Wow! Listen to me. You are an awesome warrior. You're one of those badass humans ever to live. You're going to get up there and you're going to badass it up, or I'm going to fire your ass.
Yeah,
I would not be a good director.
because I listened to your Warcraft movie discussion, and I agree with you that the guy, I think his name is Richard Armitage. I don't know how to say it. Armitage.
Armitage. Yeah,
Armitage. The guy that played Oakenshield, Thorum Oakenshield in
Mhm.
the Hobbit movies would have made a much better Lothar.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely. He was practically playing Lothar
Yeah.
in the Hobbit
Yep.
movies. I think that would have been awesome to bring him in for that.
Yeah. But
Look, you don't have to be short this time. Armitage, it's okay. We're not going to do any weird stuff. We're in a green room. It's okay. You're going to be okay. That's a lie. There's going to be a lot of green room. But listen, I just want you to come here. Just come on. Let's go.
I still think it would have been like 10 times better if it was CGI, though.
Oh yeah.
I do agree.
Absolutely. I think we can all agree on
mean,
that.
It's not like the orcs didn't look awesome.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They did really well, but I think God, we're gonna end up running another hour if we don't stop. But like the Warcraft universe, ever since Warcraft 1, has always been, that cartoonish-esque feel. And like I don't know if you watched that hour-long special that Ian Hazzikostas did with those two other game designers for that company that came out just this week, where they cover like the history of Warcraft.
I haven't had time to listen to the whole thing.
But like the game designers are like, we always kept that cartoonish feel because, that's what the people that played the RTSs, originated with. And that's, that's what they're familiar with. It's like, why the hell didn't you do that for the movie? Like if that's your whole esque of keeping it cartoonish and not going, mainstream, Skyrim style graphics, like why wouldn't you do the movie that way? Like it makes no sense.
No, I agree. In fact, I have a perfect parallel. I mean, the Pandaria opening cinematic, the opening CGI.
It's so good.
They had a human there. Yeah, it was great. But they had a human there who looked human, but
Yeah.
still looked Warcrafty.
Yeah.
That just do that. Bam.
Yeah.
Done.
They have the cinematic team. Like Warcraft cinematics are probably the best thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like even back in the day when graphics weren't as good, like I still watch Vanilla's Warcraft cinematic,
Oh,
and
man.
I'm just like, God, it's so good. Like, what
Even-
the hell are you doing?
Even Warcraft
No,
3
absolutely.
had cinematics way beyond anything else that was coming out at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to sound hippie-y here, or not hippie, that's the wrong word. Hipster? I don't want to sound like a hipster, but Blizzard, in my opinion, has been one of the best cinematic teams since Warcraft 2.
Absolutely.
If you remember, like, I mean, it looks like crap now, obviously, but if you look back at that at the time, 94, I want to say, it's like, you know, they get the CGI of Khadgar knocking down the Dark Portal and the Zeppelin flying by and all that. And it's just, wow. And then they had StarCraft and they had Diablo, and they've never stopped getting better. They keep improving. Yeah. Every step of the way. They're phenomenal. Yes. Let them do more, please.
Make a movie that way. Like, come on.
Yeah, my biggest argument about live action is that WoW or Warcraft's armor has never been practical for live action.
What are you talking about? I have shoulders that big.
And even in
an arm like a cantaloupe. Hang on. Look at this sword that's 3 times larger than me.
Exactly. And I get they tried to do, you know, the live action movie, but man, what like Lane was wearing, it's like, really?
Oh my God. It's so bad.
What is he wearing? Well, he's the king, so he's got to have different.
He's got to look cool.
He's got to look cool, yeah. What if he gets stabbed here? Well, then he dies.
Like,
and he died.
If it's not made out of, if it's made out of any type of armor, you're not going to be able to pick that shield up, you know?
Yep.
It'll be fine. No, wait, I got stuck. No. Can someone roll me to the set, please?
Just have to have a bunch of mages levitate it for them in front of them or something.
No, that's it. That makes perfect sense. Every shoulder piece in the setting has like float magic just enchanted on it.
Oh shit, man.
All right, Laura. Well, I had a ton of fun. I hope you did as well.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, dude, we appreciate it.
No,
we could literally cover a whole nother hour. Like, Let's
got questions about this exact specific thing about Teldrassil. Really.
Like, I'm trying. Like, I was wanting to break. Like we were talking about before the podcast came on. We're like, dude, this could go into an hour-long episode about Warcraft, and that's what happened. But like, I have so many questions. Like, I want to talk about the Imperium and all that kind of stuff. But we'll have to set up another episode down the line when you've got more free time. So
August and onward would be for me. I am completely full until then.
Yeah,
we'll set it up, my friend.
Perfectly fine.
Awesome.
Now, if people wanted to reach out or check out your stuff, what are some plugs? Where are they some places they can go and check that out?
Well, believe it or not, I have a website, and a website that I plug constantly on my stream. It's lorerunner.com.
Lorerunner.com.
That's kind of my hub. I showcase my last 3 videos. You can find my stream there. You can see any scheduled events on the left. You can see scheduled premiere runs and lore runs on the left. And you can see scheduled ruminations on the right. It's pretty much the nexus point. I'm also slowly, in my incredibly copious spare time, adding a wiki into the website itself, which is going to be the Imperium. That's actually awesome. It's going to be all about my own lore and my own setting that I've been writing for the better part of the last 25 years now.
God, I'm so excited.
It's about that long. So that is the nexus point. And since I've been giving this out openly, lorerunnershow @gmail.com is where you can find me personally. That's the business email.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, definitely check that out, guys. Don't let this episode be like, be a glimpse of what Lorerunner does, just because he does so much more than just Warcraft.
Everything. Yeah, any game you can think of.
So definitely.
I was asked, this is not a joke, I was asked to ruminate on a text adventure. I don't remember the name of the game. It was one I'd played before, but I remember seeing that request and just blanching for a second. Like, really? Okay.
Literally
we'll dive into it. It was one of the Dork sequels. I can't think of its name right now, but yeah, that was a thing that happened.
That's funny.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, definitely check them out, guys. Lorerunner.com, and hopefully we'll be able to get them on again for, in the future to talk about probably Warcraft again at that point. But,
let's just be honest. There will be more Warcraft.
Probably.
So what do you think about Thrall X Jaina? Well, smack and a smack. Okay, we're good.
All right. Awesome, guys. Well, other than that, we will see you guys next week.
Laters.
Yarr.
Hey, you. Yes, you. Thank you so much for listening to the episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and even if you didn't, we would love to hear your feedback, which can be sent to coldonepodcast@gmail.com or leave us a review on iTunes. It helps us gauge how we can make this podcast better for your enjoyment. If you would like to contact us, you can do that through our email or follow us on social media, which is at Cold One Podcast for Twitter and Facebook. We are now on Spotify as well as most podcast apps in existence, but if you prefer to listen to it online, head on over to our website, actionsperminute.net, for the latest episodes, a link to the APM Network Discord, or to check out any of our APM sponsored streamers. And lastly, if you like what we do, tell your friends and spread the good word.